you can increase your conversion rate, even incrementally, you can drive hundreds or potentially even thousands of less sessions to the site and still come out with more conversions.
They don't even know these metrics.
And the average increase in conversion rate was around 70%.
70%?
Yeah,
We're the
success,
ones being
yeah.
blamed.
This is the trap that so many marketers fall into.
Hello and welcome to The Fake Marketer. We have got today, well, actually a bit of news because James isn't here today.
And he told me he was going to be as well. So.
Yes, so it's very rude, but James got pulled away. And the interesting thing is I'm the guest. Apparently, on how many episodes is it, Michael?
50.
And I'm still the guest, which is ridiculous. So, but anyway, let's get into it. So today we have Greg from Lidoo. Did I go completely over the top of that?
A little bit, but at least you got it right. At least it was broadly right.
How do most people pronounce it?
Well, we get everything. We're only 5 years old, so we get Lido, we get Lidoo, as in with a U, like Lidoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
I think I was leading with, pardon the pun, I think I was leading with Lido. Even though I see two O's,
yeah.
I don't know if it's one of those, let's do something different to the name,
yeah,
but it's still pronounced O.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah, and that probably is the safe one that people try and go for if they've got no idea.
It's like goo desserts, isn't it?
Yeah.
A U with two little dots over it, and we have no idea what that means, so we just say it. Well, I think we say goo, which I think is the right way to say it.
Yeah, not a bad way of pronouncing it, actually. So we're originally a Scandinavian company, so you get the umlaut influence up there in Finnish. That
Very
we've got
good.
Going on, yeah.
That's very good.
But yeah, Lidoo. But also, it's I'm used to it. Trust me. So you might be able to tell from the twang, South African accent originally. So I get a lot of people calling me Craig when I say I'm Greg. So, yeah, been dealing with my whole life.
That's fine. Right. So it's an interesting. I know a bit about you, and the reason I think it's really good for you to be on this podcast is because our audience are marketeers. They do a lot of Facebook marketing amongst other, small business owners who are probably trying to get into every single aspect of marketing and have to control every aspect of marketing because a lot of them aren't that big. So, do you want to just explain what it is that your platform does?
Of course. So we sell to marketers. So Snap, good lead there. So we, the most common job title that we would sell to would be a head of marketing or someone who is in charge of that function, even in a small business, for instance. What we do is, ours as a platform, we call it a conversion platform because what we're interested in is getting your website converting. Yeah. So for some people that could be direct sales. For most small businesses probably is in some form or another. But it could be requesting a demo, could be someone applying for a job, could be someone downloading a brochure, whatever a conversion point means on your website. Our tech sits on it, identifies where your traffic's coming from, tells you where they work, what their conversion journeys look like, and then there's a lot of interactive tools that sit on the site that make it more likely that people will do whatever a conversion action means to them.
Okay, so it sits on your website, so we're not analyzing someone after they've converted, even though you would be doing that. But this is the main bulk of the traffic that's on the website.
Yep.
And you'll analyze how, and you'll report back to me as a business owner or marketer, how can I make the different aspects convert better?
Correct. So we're not in the business of traffic acquisition. So even though I come from an agency background myself, we don't talk to customers about their SEO or their PPC strategy. We're in the business of whatever traffic you're already driving to your website, let's identify it, let's map it out, and let's convert it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on bots?
So bots are a big part of our tech. As in some.
Can you minimize the bots in your tech?
Yeah.
Because I only had a call last week, someone trying to sell me. Cyber, would we put it under cybersecurity? Is it that realm or
not really? But I can see why you'd make that link. Yeah.
He was telling me that of their client base, some of them can reach 60 or 70% bots coming in.
Wow.
Now I don't know if that's based down on sectors or not, but that's pretty alarming.
Yeah.
So from our client's point of view, it was kind of like, okay, well, and in fact, I think, and you might want to pitch me after if you're able to do this, but he said, well, let's get you in a test.
Okay.
So obviously their sort of pricing structure is based on they do it on clicks.
Yes.
So you're paying for the click.
Okay.
And obviously me and my clients are paying Facebook for the click. But based on how many clicks we get, it comes down to how much you pay for their service.
Sure.
And it ended up being quite expensive. So what I was trying to reiterate to the guy was, well, that's fine, as long as I'm seeing a difference. So if I've got 100 people coming into the website every day and 60 of those are fake, if I can get rid of those 60 and still have 100 people coming in but they're real, our landing pages are going to start converting a lot more than what we would be thinking they are. If they're converting at 20% now, a bot converts the landing page though. Yeah,
it can, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay, because this is the thing. So, okay, I don't know if we're going away from the subject of what you do, but I think, surely it's a massive thing though, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, a couple of things there. So, for instance, one of our features is we tell you where your users work. We have company ID to tell you like what company is accessing your website, for instance. And to that point about being surprised at where your traffic actually comes from, we have a lot of customers and their first big surprise after getting our tech is realizing, oh, wow, like 30% of my traffic is competitors or people who I'm not directly trying to sell to, people who are just looking around in the space, or suppliers or competitors or people that I can't make a sale to. And once you start to take out, once you start to understand what your traffic makeup really is, then like you're saying, you can get a much better view of what should my conversion rate be, how can I improve it to people who are actually in the market for what I'm trying to buy.
Because I think the biggest thing I would say that people we deal with and clients that we have is they don't reverse engineer what's happening.
Yeah.
So and the blame game is at us. So when James and I first started the company, we had internal discussions on, we're obviously starting out, we're running ads for people, and James's theory was, we've done our bit when we've got that person to the website. And it's like, yeah, I agree, because that is what we're being paid for. We're paying to send traffic to a website.
Yeah.
But if that traffic doesn't convert,
did you do your job? Is that
we're
success?
The ones being blamed?
Yeah.
But the business has paid no attention to their actual website. They've got, and the thing that I also find really interesting is that some of the website builders that we know, companies, when I talk to them about conversions, and I say, well, that add to cart needs to convert this and blah blah, they don't even know these metrics.
Yeah.
But they're the ones building the websites.
So this is the trap that so many marketers fall into, and I am more guilty of this than anyone because I spent 10 years in marketing agencies. So I know how tough of a conversation it is to go to a client or to go to your boss and to have to explain why is traffic down from SEO, PPC, whatever channel. That's never a fun conversation, particularly in an agency context. You often get the blame for it.
Yeah.
But the problem with that way of thinking is the marketer is coming at it from the point of view of, well, if I can just send X number of sessions to the website will convert in roughly the same way it always has, and I'll come out with X number of leads.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about thousands and thousands of sessions, particularly, if you can flip that on its head and increase your conversion rate, even incrementally, you can drive hundreds or potentially even thousands of less sessions to the site and still come out with more conversions.
Yeah.
And it's such a common thing. I remember when I worked in agencies and, say we got an SEO brief, and our brief was, we want to drive X number, we want to have X more visibility, we want to drive X number of more thousand people to the website or whatever it was. And the end business goal is to get X number of more leads or sales. But you're right, when you're the agency side of it, you might do a really good job on SEO, you might increase visibility, you might improve the rankings, you might drive a lot more traffic. But unless part of your remit as the agency is to actually do CRO work and work on site to get that traffic converting, it's a lottery. Like you might be driving 50% more traffic, but if it doesn't convert any better, you're not going to get that many more sales. And as an agency, you're probably going to get held accountable, even though you've done a good job.
We will get held accountable because we have, the biggest thing will be, we need our CPA or our cost per acquisition or our cost per lead to be £2, or it needs to be, cost per acquisition needs to be 15 quid, and at the moment it's 40.
Yep.
And most of the time, I mean, we can do so many different things with the creative and stuff. Well, I've literally just come off a call, actually, when we were upstairs and you were watching me over on the other side. And their cost of conversion is around about 5 quid.
Okay.
They'd love it to be £1.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah, exactly. Pull a figure out of the air. Now, a couple of their ads are starting to convert like £2.90.
Great.
So we're starting to get there. their website wasn't converting, it wasn't showing up in the attributions weren't, they couldn't measure anything, so they're starting to get that sorted. But it comes down to the fact that I will at some point say to them, we've tested pretty much everything. I can't make these videos any better. We've done the first 2-second engaging thing. We've tested everything.
Yep.
You are going to pay £3 for that acquisition.
Yep.
No one else can. Nothing's going to make that go.
Yeah.
Unless we start looking at the website. So it's the traffic's coming through, whether it's bots or not.
Yep.
That's the cost.
Yep.
What would you do? So I mean, from an e-com point of view, you do lots of work in the e-com sector. Do you with your clients as well?
Yeah, so our client base is very mixed. It is actually more B2B than B2C, but not by much. And we're industry agnostic. You know, every website can benefit from better conversion rates. So we work with name an industry effectively. But to that point, like let's put some numbers on it, right? Okay, let's say you're running a paid campaign and it drives 50,000 sessions to the website. Okay. If those sessions convert at 3%, which would actually be an above average conversion rate for websites on the whole, okay, you would get 1,500 leads conversions from that traffic. If you lost 10,000 sessions, you went down to 40,000 sessions, but your conversion rate went up to 4%, you would get 1,600 leads. You could lose 10,000 sessions, but you'd go up by 100 leads, 100 sales, 100 demo requests, 100 whatever. From 10,000 less sessions if your conversion rate went from 3 to 4%. So the question I like to try and encourage marketers to think about is what's easier and what's cheaper and what's more cost effective in the long run.
Well, the cheaper is we can lower our budget, can't we?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say in the great schemes of things, but you would say every company goes, right, that's perfect, let's just carry on scaling. But I know we've got clients who their budget is their budget.
Sure.
So if you're spending 10,000 a month, and this is what you get.
Yep.
So you carry on spending 10,000 a month, but you're getting much more, or bring it down to 6,000 a month, and have the same again.
So paradoxically, one of the most a common outcome that we do see from Leadu customers, say they've been with us 6 months or a year, is in that time period, the total traffic to their website often goes down or stays still. Because again, we're not in the traffic acquisition game. We're here to make your traffic convert. And if you do start making your traffic convert, what we see from a lot of marketers that we work with is they realize, I don't have to keep spending on low performing channels. You know, whether that's email or, I don't know, a paid channel that's not performing particularly well, display, so, you know, whatever it is. If you are hitting your conversion, your lead, your revenue goals, you actually can start to cut effectively some waste out of your marketing spend, because if you're driving loads of traffic from a particular source and it's not converting, but you are hitting your overall conversion goal, why would you keep plowing money into something that's
so not? How do you go if we talk about leads? Well, actually earlier I was like at a car, however we can go on to both. How do you go about, like, what things are you looking at to make something? So from my naivety, maybe from my level compared to your level, we'd look if we're on a landing page, how long that landing page is, where the buttons are at the top.
Yeah,
we're thinking about how impatient consumers are and things like this. So these are the sort of things that your system looks at.
Not quite. So that's how I thought about CRO for years, but that's because I was in an agency context. And the irony is, when you're in an agency context, let's say you've got a wider digital marketing brief for a client. You know, they're paying you to run ads, maybe do some SEO, and what inevitably happens is CRO gets tacked on as like generally a very small part of that brief. So, you know, maybe you've got 100-hour a month retainer for a client. You know, I had sometimes where CRO or on-site work might make up, 5 hours out of that 100, like a really small piece of the pie. And so what agencies end up doing, in fairness, because it's probably the best use of that very small chunk of time, is trying things like, oh, well, could we change the color of the buttons on the website? Or could we... which I've led with before. Or could we test different call to action messaging on a button click or whatever it is? And in fairness, if you've only got a small amount of your time that you can dedicate to CRO, that probably is that has the highest upside in what you can achieve in that small amount of time. Where our tech is different is our tech is there to engage the user, create kind of conversational and interactive experiences on the site. So it just embeds within any site or landing page. Right. But it's there to signpost the user and guide their hand and answer FAQs and just create a more interactive and personalized experience. And that's very hard to replicate if you're trying to make small manual changes, if you know what I mean.
Which take a long time because you've got to make one change every time, because if you make multiple, we don't know which one works.
And then you've got to test it and see which one of your 5 hypotheses.
So when you say holding someone's hand, I don't understand. What do you mean? I don't understand. So I'm the consumer. I've seen the ad for whatever it is. I've gone through. I'm interested. I hit the website. What do I start seeing then?
Let's pick an industry to make it real. So pick one of your clients' industries if you want, like something you're selling.
Okay, car hire.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
So I'm interested in renting a car.
Great.
I've seen an ad for it and it's 30 quid for the day.
Great. Okay. And you've obviously seen an ad, probably with a picture for a specific model, but, I guess look at it from the consumer's point of view. You come to the site now, unless that specific model that you saw in the ad is the exact car that you want to rent, which would be a very big coincidence. Think about the average car rental website. How easy do you think it is to figure out what model is going to be right for you, or the best deal?
Well, I suppose if I'm going on holiday, I did have one on holiday. There's just 2 of us. We went for really small. The mini. Yeah. They have that mini category, don't they?
Sure. So I guess in that situation, you go onto the car rental website and you've just filtered by show me all mini cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to make that sort of more personalized, the way that you could flip that on its head is immediately having something that engages the user to say, what type of car are you looking for? What kind of fuel efficiency are you looking for? How many seats does it need to have? Do you want it in a specific color? All things that you wouldn't know just from the fact that they've clicked an ad. So, and once you start to take them down whatever journey that they're looking for in terms of what type of car they need and how long they want it for and how much fuel efficiency they want it to have and all of these things, you can obviously, that's much better from a UX point of view if you can do that. But also with our tech, you can gather all of that information as they go. So for instance, let's
so it's not like a pop-up on your opening screen with, here's all these questions we're going to ask.
Yeah. So
it's not that.
Well, so it can be, but what we find is, imagine if you'd sent someone to a car rental page and and all of those fields I've just described, fuel efficiency, number of seats, color, whatever. Imagine if all of that came up in a static contact form and it was like 10 fields long.
Yeah.
Would you fill that out?
No, because I'd automatically, that would ruin my UX experience.
Correct. But if you can make that a more gamified, interactive, simpler, quicker experience of signposting people and almost letting the user tell you where they want to go, not only do they get to the actual outcome that they wanted in the first place, but they don't have to play around with a navigation menu or a static contact form or all of the things that turn people off when they go onto websites.
Yeah. Interesting. So so we were talking about car rental. It's actually for a car club.
Okay.
That we have a client, and so if I tell you the pitfalls, the pitfall is we show them an ad and we're saying, you can hire this car, or there are cars parked in your street, or we're using terminology like car sharing. We're in a bit of a testing phase now of how can we make the consumer understand what we do, because we're not just car hire. We're get in a car for an hour and you unlock it with your phone.
Yeah.
You hover over the thing, the doors open, the keys in the glove compartment. Your insurance is paid for, your petrol's paid, all this sort of stuff. Okay.
Yep.
So they go, yeah, I'm interested. We get all these people through it. Now we're sending them to the locations page, because when it's a UK ad, we don't know where they're based. Now on some of the ads we do localized, so they'll go straight through to a landing page about the offer in that particular town.
Okay.
UK ones go here. Now once they've chosen their location, they go to the worst bit, and the client knows it, is the user experience of the form. Page 1 of the form opens, and they've got to get through to page 8. And during this time, they've got to find their passport, their driving license number. So you can imagine the amount of people we get to the front, we convert 5 to 10% who start the form actually get to the end of the form. Yeah,
and that's pretty good. A lot of contact forms, it's like 1 or 2%.
Oh, right, so that's still pretty good. Yeah. So we've been trying to get that more better by even thinking, is there an Amazon incentive at the end of it for filling the whole thing out? But if we look at that experience, how would your software then, it's plugged in to that client, do you manipulate it to say certain things? Do you sit with the client to go, well, what do you want to know? How do we take this user somewhere?
So for most users, They might have a standard list of questions that they need to get through just one at a time, and depending on how you answer, it takes you down certain routes of the conversation. We do have quite advanced personalization features, and that is based on what I was talking about earlier, where, for instance, the user works, have they been to the site before, all of this data that we collect by having our tech on the site. So, for instance, if you've got, in that context, a repeat visitor,
It's been there 5 times.
but hasn't ultimately rented a car,
Yeah.
you could, for instance, say, hey, are you still looking at minis? And you could send them straight down that pathway.
And how would they see that? Would that just be a very simple pop-up on the site? Would
yeah,
it?
so it's,
I keep on referring to pop-ups.
yeah,
Is that
pop-ups.
what- is that-
Pop-ups. It's not quite right in the sense that all of our tools just embed within web pages. So they do. I suppose they pop up in the sense that they do load dynamically as the page loads, but it doesn't look like a pop-up. It looks like
it looks like
a section of a
action on there.
page. Yeah.
Interesting. So what sort of conversions do you get, like from your client base when they're saying they're using this kind of
Yeah.
CRO?
So we did a massive study last year. So we've got about just under 1,000 clients globally. We did a study of 800 of them. We just took base conversion rates kind of before Lido and looked at the effect of our tech. And the average increase in conversion rate was around 70%.
70%.
And obviously some of them are starting from a very low base where they've never had anything interactive or personal or conversational on the website. But these conversational experiences, they do make a massive difference. And again, that might not translate to 70% direct more sales, because there can be many conversion points on a site. You can download a guide or a white paper or whatever it is. But whatever a conversion meant to them, they were getting about 70% more from the traffic they already had.
It's really good, because I think from us as an agency, when we're doing lead gen for our clients from Facebook's point of view, we're, especially since iOS, because the attribution starts coming into these things, is like we're finding it easier to get a lead on Facebook using an on Facebook form than we are sending to the website. Going back 2 years, it would have been the absolute opposite.
Sure. And that makes all the sense in the world, because the big tech platforms are incentivizing you to stay on platform now. So that makes a lot of sense from an advertiser's point of view.
Yeah.
But to the wider point about conversions, what is a marketer doing with those first party data forms that you're collecting, whether it's via Meta or the website? What are they doing to make the most use of that data, for instance? So are they taking that first party data and using it to personalize content on their website for that certain segment of the audience, for instance? That's where something like our tech could come in.
Yeah, so I doubt any of them are even looking at, they're collecting it because they want to download a brochure. So they either download the brochure on the website, or they do it in Facebook.
Yeah.
And then they're probably just joining into a Klaviyo, an email journey through Klaviyo to get them to nurture them or whatever. Yeah, it's interesting the amount of stuff you can do. I never even thought you could do any of this sort of stuff.
And what you can do, you can't do it for people who haven't given you their first party data for obvious GDPR reasons. But once somebody does, it can be via a Meta conversion, or it could be an on-site conversion. Once somebody does give you their first party data, downloads a guide, however that.
So even if they download it on Facebook?
So it depends on your privacy policy, but yes, you can have in your privacy policy that if you sign up via this Facebook form, we will collect your first party data and send you marketing materials. I suppose that's how they email you the guide, right?
So how does your tech do that? Does that plug into Meta then?
No. So what I'm saying is whether the lead comes from Meta or via the website, what our tech does help you do is map the lifetime conversion journeys of users. So once they have given you their first party data, however that comes about, because we plug into CRM systems.
Oh, it would go into the CRM, then they would see that person come back.
It could come back into Lido, and you could say, right, over the lifetime of this person's journey, they've visited the website 15 times, whether or not they first came from a Facebook lead gen or not. So when you have people's first party data, there is tech out there that enables you to see not just, okay, this person converted on this date, but this person then subsequently came back to the website 10 different times and looked at this content.
So you can actually see the journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, isn't it? What sectors do you have most success in?
So automotive, funnily enough, is a huge one for us. Yeah.
As in from dealerships or
yes.
From that point of view, because people are going on looking at different cars.
Yeah. So where our tech is particularly powerful, to that point about like a lifetime conversion journey, is when there's a considered purchase or a big purchase. Now that can be in a B2C or a B2B context, but obviously something like a car is one of the most expensive things you're ever going to buy. So that is an extremely considered purchase, and you might go to a website 10 different times before you're comfortable saying, yeah, that's the car I want.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you're buying a solar panel, or if you're buying B2B software, or if you're buying anything that is a considered purchase where there is inherent value in seeing, okay, this audience on average comes to my website this many times, looks at this content, has these type of conversations with my interactive tools, and you build up a very clear picture of, okay, this is the messaging that works best. This is when they get turned off. This is the average number of touch points.
That's the thing. So you can even start. You even then start analysing what they're interacting with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so at that point, is there a human intervention that comes in to then having to make the tech do other things because of the findings you've already got, or
so
is there AI in there?
Yeah, so there is, but every single Lead client has a dedicated account manager, so their job is to sit down with you every month and say, this is what we're seeing in terms of the companies we're identifying, how users are going through the site, what content is working, what's turning people off. But yeah, to give somebody all of that data, particularly for a high traffic volume website, and say, here's the data.
They're just going to go, I don't know even know what you want to do with this. I don't know where to start
with this, yeah.
Okay. So when someone, I'm trying to think of how to re-engineer it to the type of traffic that comes in. So you talked about competitors and other suppliers, and I get in that because now you said the automotive industry is so strong. That's why you're getting a lot of competitors and suppliers. How do you stop? You can't stop that from happening though. So how would it benefit? How does that benefit? How do you try and benefit your client using your tech?
Yeah, you can't stop it. And again, we're not in the traffic acquisition business, but it is useful for a business to know, okay, this % of my traffic is coming from competitors, suppliers, people I am not selling to. And once I know that, let's say the number is 20%. Once I know that, I know, okay, from my remaining 80%, this is my true conversion rate. This is my real opportunities among that 80% of users.
Yeah. Anything that you can do when you're going back to the ads to actually, in the way that your messaging goes out?
Yeah. So again, not my world to comment on, although it did used to be in agencies. But one thing that we do find is, again, our experiences on the site are conversational and they're interactive. So you shape the content of what goes into those. And what you want when you're signposting users or giving them value through these tools, you do absolutely need it, just from a brand consistency point of view, to mirror the kind of messaging in your adverts. You don't want to be saying one thing in your advert and then they get to the site and it's a completely different picture or price or journey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we do find that these tools that sit on the website, pop up if you want them to, they do need to mirror whatever messaging you're going for in your traffic acquisition strategy.
What if you've got multiple traffic acquisition strategies?
Yeah, I mean,
messaging.
I guess, yeah. And this, I suppose this again is where our tech can help, in the sense that you do want to talk to different audiences differently. Some people you might have 10 distinct different personas that you sell to, for instance, and obviously your ads are going to be very different to those different personas. And again, this is kind of where our tech can be useful, in the sense that you can personalize it to say to audience A, I want it to pop up and say this, whereas to audience B, it should say this. And those can be completely disparate if you want them to.
Have you seen businesses take this more seriously in recent years? Is it?
Yeah, so the big wider concept that we're talking about here, whether it's in an advert or on website tech, is personalization, right?
Yeah.
And there's some really interesting research out there that suggests that people not only want personalized experiences on websites, but they expect it now. So there's a big fascinating study by Gartner. I think the number was 61% of consumers said they expect to have a personalized experience on a website now.
And that's fine if you're Amazon or the big boys, because they can invest in all this, can't they?
Yeah.
Making the checkout extremely easy.
Yep.
Which still no one has really
nailed.
No one's else has done it. You don't go into even Shopify. They try and make it as quick as possible. But I mean, if you're logged into Shopify, it's quick. But no one's really ever done that sort of thing. So if it's only 5 years old, do you have a lot of competitors in this marketplace? Was it a very unique?
It is quite a unique product in the sense that it has a lot of different features that not a lot of other people combine.
Yeah.
So the company ID that I talked about, that is basically lead forensics. That's something.
I was going to say, because part
Yeah.
of this conversation, and thanks
Yeah.
for reminding me of that name, because it was in my head and I was thinking, who's that? Because that company tell you who's been on your website.
Correct.
We've used it as a lead gen,
Yes.
but it's not a lead. Someone's been on your website and then you don't get a name, you just get a company. You go and find their telephone number and try and investigate.
And then it's retrospectively on you to ring them up and say, hey, you were on the website. Whereas that then combines with that company ID with the actual on-site experience. So in real time, while they're browsing the website, you may want to personalize that messaging, or you may want to alert your sales team, for instance, that, hey, this prospect that you're selling to is on the website looking at this content.
So yours does that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Lead Forensics, do they do that?
I think they've brought in some of those features, yes.
But they're not using it like a tool like you are. They're not a conversion.
They're not an on-site conversion experience, no. The other big difference between us and Lead Forensics, to your point earlier about like bot traffic and things, Lead Forensics you pay for by user. You basically pay for the number of companies you identify on the site, whereas ours is a fixed price model. So we would, for instance, probably end up working with a lot more small businesses, for instance, who get a lot of traffic but maybe don't have the volume of leads yet.
Yeah, that was one of my questions actually, was obviously there's a cost to this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, and you've just mentioned small businesses who don't have loads of money, because a lot of these things, like the one I was talking about earlier, which is the bots, a small business isn't going to afford, even though they say, oh, we deal with it, but I'm like, there can't be that many who are going to be paying this. What sort of, how much does it cost? Can a small business have your product? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't limit it to certain company sizes or anything. We generally sell to some SMBs, more mid-market would be our kind of sweet spot. You can go on the Lido website. We have our pricing available there.
What sort of money would someone have to invest?
So the entry-level package, which has basically all of the core features I've talked to you about, so company ID, the actual conversion tools, account manager, all of that, is £700 a month.
So it's not bad, is it really?
I'm biased, but I don't think so.
No, and I suppose when you're coming into your selling techniques of getting someone in, you're going to start looking at, well, if we can increase your conversion rate by X. So I guess your sales protocol will be, what's your average conversion rate, blah blah.
Yeah, we wouldn't make a sale without building a business case. Yeah.
No, so then it's like it becomes a no-brainer, doesn't it?
And it is a remarkably easy business case to make, because you need to know how much traffic do you get, how many leads do you get, what your average order value is, and then we can go from there.
And if you've got your averages on what your conversion rate is going to be, it kind of says it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff. Really interesting stuff. Yeah. I'm kind of out of questions now. I don't. I think I've answered everything. You've answered everything. So.
Yeah, it's.
Is there anything else we're coming to the end of the podcast. So anything else you want to sort of tell
the
all
world.
of our listeners?
Tell the world.
Who are running Facebook ads? They're doing all types. They're all listening to this because they are running traffic campaigns, and I think it's mad because it seems to be the last thing that everyone looks at.
Correct.
But it's the most important.
Correct.
It's like everyone starts off with a testing. Let's test. And then because the thing is, the harsh thing is, you've built a website, you're a new business, you've built a website, or you're not a new business, you've had it for 5 years. Someone has built it, you've had complete trust that someone's building that website, but you don't even know if it converts.
Or worse, you make assumptions on how many people will convert based on how it was converting a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And you say to an agency or to anyone, just drive this many sessions, and if it keeps converting that way, we'll come out with this many leads.
Yeah.
But
do you find that it's harder to get people to pass with their information nowadays, especially if you're doing like lead gen and things like that? Do you think the consumer's a bit more savvy?
I think they are. But I also think if you can make, and again, the research kind of shows us this, if you can make the experiences on the website personalized and interactive, you can head off a lot of that. So for instance, one of the landing pages that we try and send people to is an ROI calculator, okay? It's one of our tools, and what it does is it asks you just basic information like how much traffic do you get on your site, how many leads do you get currently, and just by going through that in an almost gamified way with you, it says, look, if you use something like Lido, this is how many more leads you might be able to get. And what we find is just by going through that sort of very personalized but very value-adding experience, people are much more likely at the end of it to go, yes, I'd like to know more about this. Here's my email. Than if you were to, for instance, just on a landing page, put a number, say, we help people convert 70% more. Do you want to know more about this? No, because you haven't told me how that's relevant to me and what the outcome's going to be for me. So
that's quite a nice user experience itself, isn't it? Going through that little exercise.
People love a quiz, a calculator, a game. People love anything. The other thing about websites and how people use them nowadays is even in like a B2B context. Even if you're buying quite complicated B2B software, people spend more than 80% of their buying touch points online now. So if your website isn't talking to people about how is it going to benefit me, what's in it for me, how can I show or interactively or tangibly the difference this is going to make, you are missing a trick. Because if you're relying on, your website just being all your sales messages and then your sales team ringing them up retrospectively, at best, that's only going to be 20% of their buying decision touch points.
Yeah. Well, brilliant. Well, thanks very much, Greg, for coming on to the show. It's made me actually really think about... I'm just trying to think how I can push something like this into my clients. From an agency point of view, how do you... you've got agency clients.
Yeah, so this is kind of how I know James. So me and James do a lot of the same events.
Yeah.
But, Let's Run Social are a partner of Lido. So we have different partnership, arrangements with different agencies and consultants. Generally, what it boils down to is if you have clients that need help with conversion rate, let us know. And, particularly when we're talking to our customers who are, like I said, always marketers, if they ask us, who do you know that can help me run really good Facebook ads?
Yeah.
We're going to say, get in touch with Nick.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so anyone listening to this wants to get in touch with you, Lido,
Leado.
Yeah. And
ask for Greg.
Yeah.
If you liked what you heard, and if you didn't, ask for Brett, who's our sales director.
That's where my confusion was this morning when I was looking for you. I was looking for Brett.
Everybody normally is.
It's because I've met Brett before a couple of times at the shows, actually.
Yeah.
And I was obviously being rubbish with names. And basically, I came into our offices and I was like looking around the ground floor. I was like, I can't see the face that's in my head. That's what I said to you, wasn't it? And then you came up like an hour later and you were sitting at our desks. And I was like, oh.
If it hadn't been Brett, this would have been a very different sounding podcast. Very big Yorkshire guy, booming voice. Yeah. Not a small South African.
Good speaker though, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So you been speaking at the show up in Manchester?
Yeah, so me and Brett, we do most of our event talks. Events are actually a really good source of, obviously new business and opportunities for us, but also just for us to get out there. So like I said, Lido's 5 years old. We've only actually been in the UK for 2 years. So, we're in a position where, the average UK marketer probably hasn't heard of Lido, but if we can get in front of them and say, does this tech look cool to you, then people kind of get it. So we do a lot of physical events, weirdly, for a digital company.
Yeah. Are you finding it's easy for you? Are you finding it I'm positive?
I'm in marketing, so events are always stressful.
Yeah. But is it so from when you were explaining what your product does, because obviously, you've seen, I've heard about this properly for the first time. I think it's amazing. Like I really want to have a look at seeing how it works. Do you have that a lot? Do you find it on your events, whether it's online or offline, that people are really intrigued on how it works?
It's quite unique. There's not a lot of stuff out there that looks like this. And once people see it in action and see the back end, they get it. But obviously it's very hard, as you can probably relate to.
I'm trying to get it in my head and figure out how, because it's something new. It's like explaining to someone AI before we first saw it. And I remember when we first saw ChatGPT, we were just like, oh my God. And also someone explain that to you.
Yeah. And think about it from like my job point of view. So I run ads online, right?
Yeah.
How the hell am I going to get across all of this features and all of this information in a 10-second ad? So this is why physical events are great for us, because if you can pull someone over and say, do you want to have a 2-minute demo or a 5-minute demo? Way easier.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, thanks very much. You're actually speaking at our event this afternoon.
I am looking forward to it. Yeah.
So I think we talk about this sometimes on the podcast, don't we? About our marketing push events. So we've got one setting up right now. So one of 3 speakers. Be really good, actually. Yeah, I've got meetings. So I don't even know I'm going to try and come down to watch the speakers.
Who's hosting it?
Luke.
Oh, you're not hosting?
I'm not hosting, no. I'm not hosting. So, yeah, Luke's hosting today.
Yeah,
But
you've done your job now. You've done the podcast.
yeah, I
Time
wish.
to go home.
Yeah, I wish. Okay, no, brilliant. Thanks so much. Good luck in your talk this afternoon. I think it'll be really interesting to see how everyone takes it. Brilliant.
Good.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Rig. Thanks
Great
for
to be
coming.
with you. Nice one.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Bye.